KBA One Tech Traveler here. This is Last Shelter, and you're joining us in Season 6, Hero Drop 6. It is pretty much like the penultimate hero drop in our season, which is Eden Conflict, and is going to be basically your last chance to at least have a more selective choice of picking the heroes before it moves on to the all 26 SX hero roster next week. So yeah, we're gonna dive into them like always. I'm gonna keep it light and short and just talk more about the worth, the risk factor in this drop, and overall just my thoughts whether you should be pulling in these, and then just touching a little bit on each of the heroes. Now, if you want to see or read more about the heroes we are talking through or any in Last Shelter, then make sure you check out the hero profiles and the heroes guide I have available on my website at onetechtraveler.com. I'll put the link just down below, and shout out to our Last Shelter partner, Leo's VIP Club, which is sponsoring this video. So a recap of this season's hero drops. We had 2 4-hero and arguably the best time for you to drop your tickets in the first 2 weeks, headlining Lust with Wrath alongside Shadow and Prophet, and then week 2 had Retrograder with Predator, Siren, and Huntress. Now, depending which heroes you are targeting more for Lust of Wrath or Retrograder, Predator, and Huntress, either of the two are very strong, and I would suggest that you dip into those first and then use the rest of the hero drops to fill them in depending on how RNG and heroes land. And then we had last season's headlining week 3 and 4, which were Prophet and Huntress. Those are hero drops of 7, so gonna be the largest type of pull you can expect within this season, and give you a bit more less odds for heroes that you're trying to target duplicates, but they are fairly balanced. And then we have week 5, which was Lust and Wrath. That one was also pretty good, definitely worthwhile. And then finally we are in week 6, which is now, and that is going to headline Retrograder and Predator. We pretty much confirmed what we were expecting here, since last week kind of validated all of that. But again, we're going to talk about each one of them. So here we have Retrograder, Predator, Heaven's Redemption, and Glutton in this visual, and the 2 alongside them are Valkyrie and Sven. This is a really great pull, and I kind of mentioned before, if you haven't really had favorable odds or not really getting the heroes that you needed out of other drops, this one is a far more safer route of guaranteeing yourself really good quality heroes. It features mostly support heroes, so if you are looking for damage dealers or front rows, you should dip into earlier drops, but here you're going to get an excellent crop. Now, in terms of quality, I would rate this as an S. It's really that good. It has slightly more favorability considering it's a 6 hero pool rather than the 7 in the previous weeks. And in terms of the overall quality, they are very high with no downside, decent or awful type of hero. So any hero you get in here, they're going to really develop you in different ways, but yeah, definitely more of a safer bet compared to the others, and I would place it roughly third slash fourth out of all of the hero drops, so still very good in this season. In terms of risk, again, very low, so actually this would arguably be the lowest risk out of the drops, which is great. And again, really amazing APC changing heroes that you can expect. So first up, of course, it is Retrograder headlining this, and Retrograder really showed a bit more in this season what he can do in combinations, and I honestly find him a great support hero to have. Very influential. He is that alternative to Canoness, but what really makes him is not only his very high healing that roughly caps out at 25,000 troops per healing when he has near full or at least full troops in his squad, but also providing different abilities depending what troops he can hold. So you can run him with vehicles, shooters, fighters. Awesome. If you want all of his skills to activate without having to worry about combinations you can run or needing Baneblade to make him work. Like, he can fit into any kind of troops if you need him to slide or replace heroes in a combination. So that works tremendously. I find he works best either in vehicles or shooters mainly for his evasion, and you can place him anywhere, so he's a great counter to Huntress or just any damage dealers like Death Rider and so forth. Also vehicles, just how he's able to quickly stack the damage reduction on combat and troop attacks, whilst fighters is a consistent like damage reduction, which is again adding to the survivability that you can pair him with others. So really great synergy and great offerings there, while his final skill offering is a good, actually, 10% countering damage reduction. So if he is running vehicles, you come up against fighters, then the amount of damage or advantage they have is going to be slightly lower, and that can make a difference. What I also like about this is after the 4th round, he is going to provide a plus 30% straight up damage to your other APCs. So great if you're going very heavy on the offensive or just really want to bolster up the damage output of them. Again, it could be anyone across fighters, shooters, or vehicles. So excellent top pick support hero, really going to add some flexibility to APCs. Next up we have Predator. Predator again is the best sort of support hero you can find for shooters, primarily in the mid, but she can play front or the mid. She is kind of like Ana, but she basically provides a guaranteed +1 additional basic troop attack to your damage dealer. They do have to be in the back row, so when it comes to Ana, Predator, Huntress, they all have to be in the back if you want to make Predator useful in all shooter formations. That could be with Nomad. She also has a great -70% damage reduction if any of your heroes are countered, which helps, again, a bit more survivability there. And probably one of the best skills from her also is the skill trigger activation, similar to Vanguard but more reliable. There's going to be a plus 10% increase on this 5th skill activation, and then from the additional turn, is it this one? No, this one. And then from turn 5, she amps that up to 30%, so really high, but just for one heroes versus the 10% on the 2. And yeah, just going to help trigger those that have very strong 5th skill combinations. So that is Predator. Next up we have Glutton. Glutton is, yeah, you can arguably say he's a top pick. I'll put him more in the highly rated. He does require a bit more support in the mid, and he's primarily a front row if you want to make the most of his skills. But again, for fighter formations, he can be really good. What I like about Glutton is his per turn immunity status protection for your damage hero at the back. So they do have to be in the back like with Predator, but if they are going to get an immunity status, so they cannot be countered to the same tune of Death Rider, meaning you can put any damage dealer on the back and it gives them protection where they may not have it themselves. So whether that's Countdown, Hummingbird, Nomad, a Siren, any damage dealers, they can all take advantage of that, which is great. His healing is also based on the damage dealer from turn 4, so he can get some extra healing protection. Granted, it does take a little bit longer, so you want Glutton to at least last from that, and that's where you want very high damage dealers. So Hummingbird does tremendously, considering she has one of the best damage output. You can also put Nomad in there, or just any other damage dealers you have in the reserves, and he has good troop recovery block. It's -80%. I find Glutton doesn't really activate as high as the numbers that he suggests. His counter attack is okay, not great, just to one enemy, but he does have a -60% skill damage reduction for him. It's just it lasts for one turn and needs a constant trigger for it to apply, versus say Prophet, who is a straight up 70% troop recovery block, and that being a prep skill. So Glutton has a little bit more work that he needs to achieve similar effects from other heroes. He, as a combination, it does all stack up to be really good, but it does means that it will depend on the playing and triggers of his skills in battle, rather than something that's a bit more guaranteed, like with Tech Priestess, whose healing is just per damage and is a prep skill. But Glutton can work very well. I would suggest putting Retrograder in here. You can either play him as a fighter or in a mixed APC if you're down with that, or you can put Canoness in here. Again, you need to put the damage dealer on the back, but those heroes would definitely help the survivability of an APC with Glutton. And whilst TP can be worked, but you might place in other stronger APC combos like with Wrath, and that APC would be susceptible to very high damage that TP is unable to keep up with. So I would suggest a more high healer like Canoness and Retrograder. But Glutton, very good. Heaven's Redemption, again, he's an amazing vehicle support hero. Definitely top pick. Highly recommend. He's going to really influence not only top metas, but just any vehicle formations that you run, or even in mixed combos. What makes him great is just he has a great balance of silence countering for 2 enemy squads. He also heals 2 of your friendlies, roughly topping out about 8.5k troops per any that are healed. Has very good skill activation rates too. 40%, 55% on the recovery, and he also has a nice counter debuff like Major Honor, Retrograder, so if any of your guys are countered, he can remove that. He has more combat skill set like Crusher, like Countdown, which means he can be countered, so he's a bit more exposed if you decide to put him in the front row, but so the mid tends to work best for him, or even in the back. But what makes Heaven's Redemption really shine is his final skill, Emergency Evacuation. That's going to provide a blanket evasion to your friendly squad for the next 3 damages, and also buff up might and increase for 2 turns. It is a 30%, but honestly, when it triggers, it's really going to help the survivability of an APC, especially heroes that cannot be countered like Death Rider. Again, if they evade it, it doesn't matter how often they are triggering their combat skills or damage, it's not happening. So yeah, Heavens is an awesome one to put in. You'll tend to see him with Kami, Heavens, Death Rider being amazingly strong, especially Death Rider that cannot be countered. Then you could put Death Rider more in the mid, and then have Heavens in the back if you wanted to sort of protect him more, being a combat skill focused. Or yeah, you can just run with anyone. So super top pick, really high grade, recommend. Next up we have Valkyrie. Valkyrie is going to be that alternative as a front row shooter. She is again very highly focused on the offensive, so if you using a Valkyrie, just go all in on the damage output. She is primarily in the first 2 turns. You can pair Valkyrie with Predator and then have your damage dealer like Nomad at the back. She's a bit more limited in her hero synergy, primarily because her skill 8 is only going to provide a plus 50% damage buff to shooters. So sadly, Huntress or Death Rider cannot take advantage of that, so it makes her a bit more limited to shooter formations. And again, if you're going all offensive, you're really going to get the most out of her. I guess what I like about her is an overall effect of plus 100% damage increase, one making enemies take 50% more damage, and then that skill 8 that we saw propping up your shooters to deal plus 50% too. She also has a very devastating guaranteed turn 2 attack, which is this one is pretty much 1400% over to enemies. You amp that up with extra damage buffs from her own skills, from Predator. Yeah, can do really crazy stuff. Valkyrie is also great if you want a force tile, not to the tune of Panther, but has a very good focused first 2 turn damage buffs. So if you don't have Panther or want to run others and yeah, want to also force tile while not taking too much troop damage, she can be workable as long as you have other good heroes that tend to pair up with her. But yeah, Valkyrie, there's definitely those that you can get a bit more out in terms of a front hero, but she is still very good quality and a niche type of hero for those situations where she can work amazingly well. That leads us on to the final hero, which is Sven. Similar to her, Sven is pretty much exclusively the best top hero you can get for force tiling. He will make that combination that you know with Ivanov and Panther, primarily due to his skill 8, which is going to allow him to survive one more turn. Basically, he's just the only one left in the battle, which means if you manage to kill all the troops on a high level tile, but the other 2 die, and normally you would not progress because all of your guys have died in that round, Sven staying alive for the next round means that you technically do win and that you get that tile. So that's kind of the big thing here. So you pretty much only at least need 2 copies of him to make that force tiling work. But of course, maxing him out is going to allow you to take level 16 much earlier on, or at least much higher poison. And all of his other skills just basically buff up that whole might increase. So those are the heroes in this drop. Total of 6, really excellent crop, no one hero that you would be disappointed with, but of course that really depends on how many tickets you have, what heroes you are targeting, and whether these heroes can slide in. So average RNG of 80. Now I did pull my tickets already earlier today, so check it out in my live episode 8. Had very good odds, roughly about 50 RNG. I always do say expect 80 because I did have one that pretty much went up to that, but it meant that I was able to get a bit more heroes out of my tickets, so things are looking good for now. Hopefully it does for you if you decide to. Retrograder, Predator, Heavens are definitely going to be the top ones, so if you pick any of those out of it, then that'll be pretty awesome. And yeah, considering it's the final hero drop with 6 heroes before pretty much the end of the season and the NE26, the time is now, and also it's one of the best drops in this season. So fingers crossed. If you decide to pull, leave your comments down below. Let us know how your tickets dropped, your RNG, what your hero returns, and whether you're happy with it. If you want to find out what I pulled, then check out the live and give it a big thumbs up. And yeah, you can, like always, stay updated in my season 6 hero drop track on my website down below, and anything else to do with Last Shelter, where I'm uploading hero profiles, guides, etc., and continue to do more of that on my website. So have a look down in the video description and check them out. And yeah, thanks a lot, Team KBA. I'll see you in the next one.